Hey everyone, Militarygunguy here. I seem to be the king of buying fucked up, blown up guns. I'm kind of enjoying it. I did pick up two today, and I knew obviously what I was buying. I got a smoking deal on them, so in no way am I getting hurt on these. It was basically advertised as two blown up guns on Gunbroker. The first one was a ROS-47. I'll get to that one later in another video. It actually wasn't that bad. But there's a couple of things you should be aware of when buying a ROS-47. The one that was more interesting is this one. This is a Zastava. I believe it's the OPAP. I don't know what it is. Anyway, this is Zastava PAP. I believe this one should have had the grenade launcher, but I don't think it did. Could be wrong. Standard AK47. This one, the repair tag shows cracked barrel housing, small crack on the right side of the frame, sell for parts. So this one was kind of interesting. I picked it up today, and one of the first things that I noticed was that this piece was like this. Okay, so as you can tell, what's wrong with this picture? Well, the gas tube goes like that, not like that. So the wood's on the bottom and everything's on the top. If you look over here, you can see where it looks like, let's get some focus on this. I don't know if they hammered it in or what the deal was, but you can see the amount of damage that was done to this gas tube. When I picked up when I picked this thing up today, the bolt was literally locked shut. I had to slam it on the edge of a counter, and even then had to use a hammer to get this thing open. The bolt itself doesn't seem to be in too bad a condition, to be honest. It's got a little bit of rough machining and whatnot. I don't know if that's been worn or what the deal is, but overall the bolt actually was pretty solid. I did find also, this was kind of interesting, that this was really, really, really clean. Yet this rifle is really, really, really dirty. But that's not the issue. The first issue was the fact that when I picked this thing up, this had been kind of jammed in place just like this, and this had been kind of hammered down and whatnot. Well, as you can obviously see, there's damage in this area and whatnot. That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue, if you look closely, is the fact that this thing is actually bowed out. The trunnion is cracked. It's actually loose. You can kind of see it. Yeah, maybe you can't. Let's get focus on that thing. And there. This piece is completely blown off. This actually piece came off of the actual trunnion itself, and then this piece is just loose. Amazingly enough, the rivets held. But you can see where this kind of goes out at an angle. If you hold the rifle up, you probably won't be able to tell from here, but if you hold the rifle up, the whole rifle actually bends slightly to the right. So it's got like a 1 or 2 degree cant to the right, plus this blown out section. What we had kind of determined, what might have happened also, I mean, these are out. This is how this rifle was purchased, or was brought in. There's no fire control group. Actually, there is. It's the shepherd's hook, but it's barely hanging on. What we gathered had happened was that the rifle had been put together incorrectly, that this piece may have spun around. Somebody thought, oh, it looks good, popped it in place, and as you can see, it actually will go in place, but it won't lock. So if you hammer the shit out of this down, and then try to force this piece down, what you're going to end up happening was that, and again, what we think is that this piece went forward. Let me take the bolt out. Actually, that's not even the right one. Sorry, it's for the ROS. Anyway, take this out. So this piece went in just like so. Once it cleared the hammer, come on. You know, normally this would function correctly, and the tolerances are about right. What we think what happened is that this came in right about there, may have hit or locked up at some point. Inertia, either they pulled the trigger, or inertia, probably that they pulled the trigger, inertia hit the firing, or the hammer hit the firing pin, caused the firing pin to hit obviously the round, and it detonated probably right about there. Obviously a very dangerous thing to happen because your face is right next to it. At the very least, it may be, blowing parts of your face off. Surprisingly, the top cover was still intact, but it bowed this out completely. You can probably see it. I get a nice close up there. This bowed this piece out. It cracked the trunnion, sheared off a piece of the trunnion here. Essentially junked this rifle. Amazing, this thing was pretty filthy too, which was strange having such a clean bolt in it. You know, it's a range gun, is the way it was advertised. I bought it as is. I knew it was fucked up. You know, the bolt, or the piston does look slightly bent. It's a little hard to tell, but there also is some up and down and back and forth play in it. So I'll have to look into that a little bit further. I'll probably compare it to another, but it actually looks like this may have bent forward or bent down just a little bit. So yeah, so my best guess is improper assembly after cleaning or not cleaning, because this thing is filthy, and they didn't put it together right. They kind of hammered it in place, and again, you can see marks on the wood. You can see marks on the top of the barrel. This thing is absolutely filthy, but yet the gas piston is clean, but it was also locked in place. It was, I mean, like I said, I had to hit it against a metal desk, or a metal countertop, and then hit it with a hammer to get this thing open. So at the very least, this is going to get a new front trunnion. It's going to get a new receiver. Fire control group looks okay. I'm going to see about the bolts, if it's salvageable. I might end up putting a new gas piston in it. The bolt carrier itself is probably pretty good. The bolt itself still looks intact. Doesn't look like there's any major damage to that. But this is, and I've said before, and it's been said before me, that, an AK is like a biker bitch. You can be a little rough with it, and that's okay. If you got to use a hammer on something to get it to fit, then you really need to start looking into what's going on with your gun. So this is a Zastava PAP, maybe an NPAP, I think it is. This is the 1mm receiver. Again, it looks like it was improperly put together, and as such, the gun ended up blowing in place. Doesn't look like it did any damage to anybody. Doesn't look like it had, like I said, the top cover was intact, but there's a lot of stuff is just not working the way it should. So this will get torn down, rebuilt, probably refinish the wood, and it'll be good as new when I'm done. It's a shame that this happened to such a nice gun, because it's a well-built gun. The fact that the rivets held is kind of a testament to, how these things are built. But again, if you got to force something, then chances are you got to look to see what the hell's going on. So that's horror show of the day number 1. We'll get on to horror show of the day number 2. Lost my glove. These things suck. Horror show of the day number 2. Not quite as bad, but stay tuned, and I will show you what's coming up next.